Now let's talk about operations. Okay, so smart connect operations. The Industry 4 side of things. Okay, because obviously there's a lot of interest in that from the industry. Okay, so really the thing about today's factories, typically we see this a lot of our customers. They've got this sort of ISA 95 model where you've got your PLCs that are sort of right there at the front end. Maybe they're hooked up to a SCADA system. You might have your MES system that's controlling all of that. And then there's your business systems, your ERP, PLM systems that control the governance and planning of all of that. And they're hooked into your logistics, your suppliers, your pieces of equipment. You might have some IoT gateways there spitting information out. Very typical kind of setup, right? And you might even have machines in there that aren't connected to any of this at all, right? It's all manual. So, you've got different people across here that are working within this sort of space, particularly operators. The big thing is, what information they've got. There's a lot of paper-based systems out there. How do you track and control quality quickly? If it's someone just filling in a bit of paperwork, how often do you collate that and understand what's happening? Typically it's done at the end of the shift. When there's the handover, it gets written up on the board. So then what happens, right? How do you react to that quickly when it's happening during the shift? Okay. So one of the big concerns around this is, how do we deal with these problems? How do we modernize these systems? Okay. And so really the idea is to not rip and replace, but to wrap and extend what's there. Okay, so those existing systems are still there. They are still functioning and giving you value, but it's really around extracting the most value out of that. So, building some sort of platform to help you understand what's happening, to analyze that data, to contextualize, to connect into those bits of information. Okay, so not throwing everything away that you've got, but really adding that smarts into it. Okay, so what does that give you then? It gives you the ability to look at things like, better asset monitoring and utilization, real-time quality validation, predictive maintenance, predictive quality, performance optimization. So energy optimization is a big one for lots of manufacturers. Okay, so these are the types of benefits the companies are looking for from their factories, or things they're looking to control. Okay, so the big thing from an operations perspective is really you're looking to increase your revenue. Remember, this technology is all around getting better value. That's that. At the end of the day, that's the ultimate driver. Technology is great, and we can do some great things with that. But it's really around getting better value from that. So increasing your revenue, decreasing your operating costs, and really around making sure you've got your assets are being used most efficiently. Okay. So again, on the COVID side of things, from a manufacturing perspective, right? Manufacturing and supply chains have been heavily affected. Particularly in the early stages of the pandemic, we had customers who were, a lot of their supply chain was based in China, and China shut down pretty much completely for a good month. So dealing with that was obviously a big factor. Okay, so you're looking at decreased demand from out there in the customers, from the customer base. Again, factories being shut down, you can't travel. The same thing, health and safety risks, reduced staffing within your factories, or factories being shut down. So a lot of issues around that. So again, the short term, how do you respond now? In the medium term, how do you operate in the new normal as we're getting back to that? And then longer term, how do you thrive in the future? Okay, so from an operations perspective, actually we've got two different scenarios. That there's definitely been some of our customers have faced massively decreased demand for their products, but at the same time we've got some other customers in other industries where they're looking at massive increases in demand. Particularly companies in the medical industry, right? Those guys can't make stuff fast enough and have more and more demand for that stuff, particularly if you're in the respirator or ventilator space. Okay, COVID testing kits, things like that. Okay, so really, to meet with that, you're really looking at making sure that you're increasing your overall operating efficiency. Okay, so reducing that unplanned downtime, make sure that your systems are in place and running, and that you can really proactively approach maintenance, because you can't get in there as much, but let's do what we need to do when we can. Okay, and PTC customers are looking at seeing things like 5 to 20% increases in OEE. Okay, with the distributed workforce, again, we're looking at how do we remotely support that? How do we maintain our those things? How do we get access to the experts who can help with that when they can't come on site anymore? So again, these are more on the AR side of things, which we're going to talk about in our future webinars. Okay. In the medium term, particularly on the manufacturing side, there's obviously a lot of demand volatility, right? Some customers going up, some it's going down, but really we want to get better visibility into manufacturing performance. Again, continue to look at increasing our OEE. We want to be more efficient, okay? We need to be able to scale up and scale down as we can. So we want to get the most out of our assets and the most out of our inventory, okay? We want to make our workforce more flexible and agile. So we want to increase our operator productivity as well. And then longer term, right, as an overall goal is to increase our complete operational flexibility and agility, okay? So increase our asset efficiency, increase our workforce productivity. And as I said, with the smart connected products, these are goals that companies were moving to long before COVID happened and things that everyone really wants to do. All manufacturers want to be looking at these. But obviously it's become more important now, and as the nature of industry has changed, how do we keep that going? Okay. All right. So again, some examples of results from customers around the world in this. So Pactiv, who manufacture, as you can see there, this sort of food packaging equipment, 50% decrease in throughput loss. Okay. CIMC looking at a 30% reduction in unplanned downtime. Carlsberg, they were looking at digitizing their factories. So they were bringing on essentially one factory per month to get better visibility and better understanding of what's happening inside that factory without any impact on OEE. Okay, so they managed to do that again. And there's lots of examples of that from manufacturers.